Alright, this is our last 1920s politics. This is now foreign affairs and debts. Now, the U.S. becomes a creditor nation in 1914. By 1920, the Allies owe us $10 billion. The Allies actually argued the debt should be canceled. Okay? And this was kind of the compromise about why Germany is going to be fitted the bill, etc. And they basically feel that Germany is going to pay back these billions of dollars. Okay? Now the really interesting thing is, from about 100 years past this, we're now the largest debtor nation. We're actually borrowing money to pay back our own bills. So in 100 years, we went from being the largest loaner of money to the largest borrower of money, and that's kind of interesting. Now, two senators, Dawes and Young, actually create a plan to help kind of get this money back. The U.S. is going to loan $2.5 billion to Germany. Germany is going to make $2 billion. They're going to keep that $500 million or million to kind of rediscover their country, but they're going to make that $2 billion reparation payment to the Allies, and the Allies would then pay us $2.6 billion in war debt payments. Everybody's happy. This is moving great, right? The problem is Germany's economy is in such shambles. They were actually burning marks, which was the German money, to keep warm. And so that didn't happen. The Allies don't get their money. We don't get our money. And basically that $2.5 billion dissipates. And that a big leader into our debt, why we have a lot of debt. Now, we do also have in Washington the Washington Naval Conference. And this was to talk about navies, the big military power and things that we had, and how to prevent another war from occurring. Now, it's simple math, and I say simple math because 4 plus 5 is 9, okay? And we have the 4-power treaty, the 5-power treaty, and the 9-power treaty, okay? Now, in the 4-power treaty, it's the U.S., Britain, and France, and everyone basically agreed to what you had in the Pacific. We had the Philippines, France had Indochina, Great Britain had Singapore and Hong Kong, and Japan had Manchuria. We basically, I'm sorry, not Manchuria, but they had their little stuff as well. Then we had the 5-power treaty. Now this was a big one because it basically said that we're going to agree to build new naval bases in the Western Pacific. We're not going to build them, rather. And we're also going to stop large warships. Now that was the big one there, okay? And lastly, the 9-power treaty. Every country at the Washington Naval Conference agreed to leave China alone. Extension of the open door policy, okay? Now, that in 5-power treaty, they said stop building warships. The $9 word for that, if you want, is moratorium. Moratorium is where you stop something, an obligation. In other words, don't make any new warships at this time, because if I make one with 3 guns, you can make one with 4, and they're going to make one with 5, and we're back into this thing, right? Now, lastly, there's a book written called When the World Outlawed War. Mr. Kellogg and Mr. Briand had nothing to do with cornflakes or frosted flakes. Got 27 countries together, and they basically all agreed to never use war to solve a dispute again. And this was the whole deal, that this is great, we're never going to use war again. However, the same country will break the 4-power treaty, the 5-power treaty, the 9-power treaty, and the Kellogg-Briand Pact, and it is Japan. And we're going to see that in World War II when we start going through that, okay? That's the end about the 1920s politics. Make sure you take the quiz. The next one is the 1920s culture clashes, modernism versus traditionalism, and that's a great one. Everyone loves that, all right?